We have today at 4 o'clock we filed a response to the lawsuit filed by a resident to try to overturn the vote from November where the voters sent a very strong change message to the City Council. Since that time and even before, there were questions trying to make a residency an issue. People clearly voted instead on the electric issue, which we are attempting to move forward with some changes. What we are showing is that the allegations are unfounded. That to become a candidate, I followed both the letter and the intent of the law. It was not the city, but it was I, Charlie Wilson, that brought to the city's attention that there was difficulty in the wording of their ordinance. I gave them months to be able to first correct it. When they failed to correct the ordinance, I gave them another period of time to research to find where that ordinance showed that I would be ineligible as a candidate. The city did not provide any documentation. The only thing that the city basically said was, the city attorney said, "We don't want you here." When asked, they said, when the actual comments by the city attorney when I was discussing this issue with them was, the first thing he says is, "Well, you're right, it doesn't say that," because he said, he said, I said, "I'm eligible because I can read this, and I can swear to the truth of everything in this code, and in this I can swear to this oath." And Mr. Vitunik said, "Well, you're right, the provision for having residency for a year immediately preceding is not in there, but that's not what we meant." And I explained to him that I've never been in a legal situation where it was determined by that's what we meant. It was also very disconcerting to realize that the person that was sitting across from me telling me that the reason that the ordinance was unclear was that they meant to write something else, and that was the same lawyer that was doing the contracts with the utility companies that were going to cost the city of Vero Beach billions of dollars. It did not give me full confidence in the ability, the legal representation the city was getting. It also, Mr. Vitunik said, well, it's clear that the intent of the ordinance was to have people who had knowledge of the issues facing the city. He said, "Clearly, you have knowledge because you do your newsletter report." He said, "You always get it wrong, but you have knowledge of the issues." So it was an antagonistic situation. And then finally, in the discussion, Mr. Vitunik said, "Well, if you get elected, that doesn't mean I have to be nice to you, does it?" And I said, "Well, apparently not." So Mr. Vitunik at the time was not, and then I followed that up with, I told Mr. Vitunik that if he could show me anything that backed up his position, an opinion, an advisory opinion by the Attorney General, the Elections Office, an advisory, case law, anything that backed up his position, and he could show me that I was not a qualified candidate, then I would not run. Mr. Vitunik and the city, representing the city, did not do so. And after even months of them knowing about the situation, did not come up with a single document to back up their assertion. And at the time, Mr. Vitunik clearly was a partisan political figure. Mr. Vitunik was not a neutral representing the city. Mr. Vitunik was representing elected officials and employees. So one of the things that this shows is there's a timeline in there, and it shows a very long history of entrenched bureaucrats in the city of Vero Beach using the power of the city to discourage opposition candidates. even to attempt to overturn the vote after the vote has been held.
That come the court date, the judge finds in your favor, you're allowed to retain your seat on council. How do you continue to work with the people at City Hall who you feel have been out to get you, out to not allow you to run, to challenge your candidacy? How do you move forward from this and continue to work with people?
One of the things you have to do is, one of the big dangers is that you get into armed camps. You know? And a lot of times people take all these things personally. I don't take them personally. And basically I've been sort of practicing in my head saying, okay guys, you took your best shot, but it's still not more important than what we need to do here. So, you know, let's go ahead and do what we can for the city's business. And then if you want to take a shot at me at the next election, you're welcome. Because in the end, it's a political decision. In the end, people can decide these issues. They have over and over and over again. This was the same question they had with Hillary Clinton running in New York as opposed to Illinois. It's the same question Elizabeth Dole in South Carolina and North Carolina. This question has been had many, many times. And I knew that it would be a political issue. And I trusted, and basically that's what we ended up with our discussions with the city attorney, is that people have the ability to make a decision. Now, where we would be wrong is if I had hidden some residency until after the election, you know, and then they caught me, then I'd be on their side. But they're not. I brought it up. And I tried to get a satisfactory answer, and I couldn't.